Hi everyone, how we doing out there? Today's video is going to be just a little bit different because I'm also going to be sending this out to chapters as well because there's some chapter information out there that we want to cover, and that's going to be one of the last things we cover in this video. So the three things I'm covering in today's video are lodge elections, the two trips coming up, one from the seniors at Mooseheart on their graduation, the graduating class is coming through for their senior trip, and then the chairman of the board visit that's going to be in a few weeks as well. And then lastly, but not leastly, the chapters when it comes to using Indiana gaming and other options for fundraising as well. So the first thing being lodge elections. So we're at the end of March, and at the end of March, the nominating committee should be wrapping up their business. The first meeting in April should be your elections, and the second meeting of April should be your installation of officers. So remember, you should be having your actual elections at your general membership meeting. Whether you have multiple people on the ballot and you're actually using a ballot, or they're all uncontested and you are just using the sign of the order, that's perfectly fine as well. I have had a few people ask about do they have to have the elections if everybody's uncontested? Yes, you still officially have to have that. They have to be voted in, and it has to be recorded in your minutes that who was voted in. Also, the lodge, if you are having the Australian ballot, which we don't really encourage that much. We know some lodges like to do that, and that's fine. But remember, you've had to have that pre-approved. You have to have that in your minutes. Your membership has to already have voted on it, and they have the right to know about it that it's coming up. So make sure we advertise when that's happening. If your lodge has had its elections in the last few years overturned or considered determined null and void, or you've had a group of officers removed from Moose International, then you cannot have the Australian ballot. You can only have the actual regular election at the general membership meeting. So also the senior class is on their senior trip coming to Indiana. I'm going to be stopping by lodges. That list has already been sent out. I won't go over where they're going again. But if you're in a neighboring lodge and you're nearby, stop by on one of those days and visit the kids and see what they're doing, congratulate them, and see what good works we're doing by providing these young adults an education and a home. Also, the chairman of the board visits in a few weeks. Those flyers have went out. The dates have been told everybody. So also the same thing. If you're in a neighboring lodge and they're coming, come stop by a visit, especially the mid-afternoons. Those visits we'd like for a few more people to be in the lodge when the chairman of the board comes. We know that it's the middle of the day sometimes on a weekday and there may not be as many people there. He understands that, but if we could have some more people there, that would be nice. And then the third thing is for chapters and gaming in the lodges and other fundraising ideas. So there seems to be still some miscommunication going out there, whether that's coming from chapter officers or even lodge officers and giving out the wrong information. We want to make sure that everybody's doing things right so the chapter doesn't get in trouble, that the lodge doesn't get in trouble. And chapters, if you have questions, feel free to contact Cletus McManamall or any of her assistants, which would be Billie Jean Nurm, Margie Barker, Donna Howe, or Peggy Engelman. They can kind of help you with those situations about what I'm getting ready to discuss. But what I want to make sure is that we're doing this stuff right. So basically, when it comes to fundraising, especially when it comes to gaming, you have basically three basic options that you can do. And I'm going to go over those right now. So the first one is getting a tax-exempt notification from the Indiana Gaming and doing your own gaming. But there are rules to that. You can only raise $7,500 in a year, which is still quite a bit of money. There's limits on how much you could do per event. If you have like a raffle per day, there's a limit on that, and that's all in the information that's online. It's on the form. If you go to the Indiana Gaming Commission website and you go to the charity gaming, you'll see a page there, and it says all kinds of information, but there'll be one section that's in big bold red letters that says charity gaming forms, and that's where you can find this. And this form is the exempt activity notification form, the CG-EN form. That's the one you want to fill out. This is one page. There's two pages, but the second page is basically some instructions. It's not a hard form to fill out. It does say on here that you need to give it 14 days to get your notification back. if you're going to do any type of gaming for the chapter, so whether that be, a 50-50, some type of cardboard, a pull tab, you have to have this before you start it. You have to fill this out and get this back saying it's okay. The chapters, unlike the lodges, if you're doing this form, you don't have to have a separate segregated checking account, bank account like the lodge does, but you have to stay within these guidelines. You have to keep proper records of what you're using your money for. If this money that you're bringing in, say you bring in $7,500, you have to be able to track where the $7,500 is that you've given away. So same thing for lodges. Lodges don't really get involved in what the chapters per se are doing, but the chapter is doing something on the lodge property, on the premise. They have to have permission from the lodge to do that. And it's the lodge's duty also to make sure that the chapter has this form and is doing it legally. It's not the lodge's responsibility to go out and get it or do it, but they need to be aware of what's going on their property, because I would hate for a chapter to go out, be doing some type of gaming they're not allowed to do without this form, and then the chapter gets in trouble and the lodge gets in trouble. We don't want that happening. If you're not going to go this route, which this is the route we suggest that's best for the chapter, because again, the chapter gets to decide where the money goes. It's on them. They don't have to worry about telling the lodge, making sure money goes in this account, that account is done right. They get to do all that and are in control of all that. This is the way we prefer you do it. The second option, which is kind of a 2-in-1 option, so if the lodge has women that from the chapter that are on their gaming license, so those women that are already on the lodge's gaming license want to do an event and or do a 50-50 or a raffle or a pull tabs on one certain night, and the lodge earmarked that money, that's perfectly fine. Now, what the lodge cannot do, and this is what gaming is really been enforcing in the last couple of years, and we've had some lodges and chapters get in trouble. The lodge cannot write a check from their gaming account to the chapter. The chapter is not a 501c3. Again, money cannot be written from the gaming checking account to the chapter. That's the one big thing that they're harping on. Now, if the chapter wants to do something, let's say the fundraiser was for the local pet port or sponsoring a youth sports team locally, the lodge can then write the check to that charity, and then in the memo line, say for the Women of the Moose chapter, whatever their chapter number might be. So the chapter is still getting credit from the local community, but the lodge is writing that check out of their gaming to that charity in the name of the Women of the Moose. But again, that money's not going into their bank account. The other option to that is if the women raise that money and the lodge has the money and wants to write the chapter a check out of their general checking account, they can do that. The problem being, though, in a lot of lodges, this is a very common problem, that we have lots of money in the gaming and not so much money in the general account. The lodge may not be able to afford that option. They might not be able to say, hey, thanks for raising $500 and it's in our gaming account, but we don't have $500 in our general account to write you. That's a big problem. So that's something that has to be discussed, and we don't really encourage that process anyways. Again, if the lodge is doing well and has lots of money in its general account, that's perfectly fine. The third option, which really isn't gaming related, which we highly encourage, everybody in Indiana wants to get on the gaming bandwagon, and we love that it's an option. A lot of lodges do survive because of that. But chapters, you don't have to do gaming. There are lots of fundraisers out there that you can do that don't do anything with gaming whatsoever. You can have silent auctions, garage sales, baking good sales. I mean, there's all kinds of fundraisers out there you can do, and I'm going blank on them right now. Sorry. But you can do a lot of different things. You can even do, in your lodge, put a dart tournament together. They have dart boards, cornhole tournaments, pool tournaments. With lodge permission, of course, you can put on those tournaments. That is a sporting event, not a gaming event. And I know sometimes lodges and chapters get this confused. So, gaming, when it comes to Indiana gaming and that type of money, that is a game of chance, and that's when it has to be regulated and involves Indiana gaming and all those rules we just talked about. Sporting events are games of skill, and games of skill are not regulated by the Indiana Gaming Commission. So if you wanted to put a dart tournament together in the lodge, or a pool tournament, or a cornhole, whatever you might want to do, you can do those, and that money goes to you, and you do whatever you want with it. It has nothing to do with gaming, and you don't need any licenses or anything like that. So there's lots of other options out there. So we encourage you to go that route. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, contact me. Again, talk to your chapter advocate if need be. What we don't want is chapters getting in trouble and then it causing a problem for the lodge also, because if the Indiana Gaming Commission comes in and wants to investigate a chapter as an auxiliary and what they're doing, well, while they're there, they're going to investigate the lodge as well. So we just want to try to nip that in the bud and be doing the right things to start with. Went kind of long today. I do apologize. 11 and a half minutes. Everybody, you have a good week. Maybe we'll see some of you out during the senior trip this week. Take care. Bye.